you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Ohio. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Please have a seat. Have a seat. Thank you so much. It is great to be here. There are a couple of people I want to make sure to acknowledge. They may have already been acknowledged, but not by me. So I'm going to acknowledge them because they are doing outstanding work. First of all, the mayor of the great city of Columbus, Michael Coleman. A champion of working families, not just in Ohio, but all across the country, Senator Sherrod Brown. A wonderful member of Congress who's fighting day in, day out. Mary Jo Kilroy is here. And although he is not on the list, he's down a little south from here, but he's here. I saw him, so I want to acknowledge him because he is just an outstanding young member of Congress. Steve Driehaus is in the house. There he is. Lieutenant Governor and soon-to-be Senator Lee Fisher is here. Attorney General Rich Cordray is here. Treasurer Kevin Boyce is in the house. And candidate for Lieutenant Governor Yvette McGee Brown is here. It is good to be back in Ohio, and it is good to be among such good friends, because as I look out over the audience, I know so many of you worked so hard on behalf of our campaign. You were there when we were up. You were there when we were down. I might not be standing here if it weren't for the incredible efforts that all of you put in here in this state and around the country. So thank you so much for everything that you've done. It truly means a lot. I have to say, by the way, that earlier today we had a wonderful little mini town hall in the backyard of some folks, the Whitemans, and you will be pleased to know that for using their backyard, the price they charged was they made me be the O in OHIO. This is true. This is true. This is on videotape, which I'm worried about when I go to Michigan. But I did their commencement, so hopefully things kind of will balance out. Look, the main reason I'm here is to stand with somebody who I genuinely believe is one of the best public servants in the country, your governor, Ted Strickland. Ted took office during an enormously difficult time in Ohio's history. And this state had been hit harder than almost any place else by the loss of manufacturing. And when the recession hit in 2008, times got even tougher. But from the day he stepped in as governor, Ted Strickland has not wasted a single solitary minute fighting to turn this economy around. Not a minute has gone by that he hasn't thought about how do we build an economy not just for the present, but for future generations. And under Ted's watch, Ohio has invested in high-growth industries. He has invested in new infrastructure. He's provided new skills and job training to more than 150,000 workers. There are over 65,000 more students in college than when Ted took office. He's cut red tape. He's kept taxes low so this state can be a better place to do business. And he hasn't just been concerned about the next election. He's been concerned about the next generation of Ohio families. And his work is not yet done. So I know I'm preaching to the choir in this room, but I want everybody who's going to be hearing me through the television, I want you guys to know Ted Strickland has done an outstanding job for Ohio, and he needs another term to finish what he has started here. You've got to turn out for Ted Strickland. Now, we need leaders like Ted in this country, and like Sherrod and Mary Jo and Steve. We need them because we face an incredibly challenging time for America. 18 months ago, when I took office, after nearly a decade of economic policies that had given us sluggish growth and falling incomes and falling wages and a record deficit, we knew that it was going to be tough to rebuild this economy. But when I was sworn in, nobody fully, I think, appreciated at that point how bad this recession had become. Turned out this was the worst financial crisis and the worst recession since the Great Depression. In the last 6 months of 2008, while I was still campaigning, 3 million Americans lost their jobs. In the month that I was sworn in, nearly 800,000 people lost their jobs. 600,000 the month after that. 600,000 the month after that. Before we had any opportunity to put in our economic policies, we had already seen millions of jobs lost. Ultimately, 8 million jobs. And these aren't just statistics. Behind each of these stories, behind these statistics is a story of heartache. It's a story of frustration. You got workers midlife who are suddenly laid off and don't know what they're going to do next. Single moms sending out job application after job application, waiting for the phone to ring, trying to figure out how they're going to pay the bills. College graduates who thought, having worked hard in school, that a degree would land a good job and a decent paycheck, and instead just have a mountain of debt to show for it. And some young people who made the decision to forego college because their families couldn't afford it. I hear these stories every single day. I read them in the letters that I get each night. The struggles and the hopes of these Americans are the reason I ran for office in the first place. They're the reason that Ted ran for office in the first place. That's why I intend to keep fighting as hard as I can, as long as it takes, to make sure that this economy is working for every single American. Anybody who wants a job got to be able to go out there and get one, and we're not going to be done until we get that result. Now, we're not there yet. We know that. It'll take a few years to fully dig ourselves out of this recession. It will take time to bring back 8 million jobs that have been lost. That's the hard truth. Anybody who's telling you otherwise, they're just running for office. But here's what I can tell you. After 18 months, I have never been more confident that our nation is headed in the right direction. We are doing what is needed to move the country forward. We're rebuilding this economy not just in the short term, but for the long term, for our children, for our grandchildren, for our great-grandchildren. You see, we did not become the most prosperous country on earth by rewarding greed and recklessness of the sort that helped cause this financial crisis. We didn't come this far by letting a handful of irresponsible folks on Wall Street or insurance companies or special interests run wild. We did it by rewarding the values of hard work and responsibility, by investing in people who've built this country from the ground up middle-class families, and small business owners. We did it by outworking and out-educating and out-competing every nation on earth. That's what we are going to do again. But we're going to have to buckle down. We're going to have to buckle down because the competition's fierce out there. Right now, countries like China and India and South Korea and Germany, they are fighting as hard as they can for the jobs of the future. They are trying to outcompete us when it comes to clean energy. They're trying to outcompete us when it comes to how many engineers they're producing and how many entrepreneurs they're producing. And frankly, in some cases, they've pulled ahead. We used to be ranked number 1 in the number of college graduates. We have slipped to number 12 in a single generation. That's unacceptable. The United States of America does not play for second place. We play for first place. We are going to rebuild this economy stronger than it was before. We're going to rebuild this economy stronger than it was before, and at its heart are going to be 3 powerful words: made in America. Made in America. We got to make stuff here and ship it over there, not the other way around. And that means instead of giving tax breaks to corporations that are shipping our jobs overseas, we need to cut taxes for companies that create jobs right here in the United States of America. It means giving smart tax breaks to small business owners, tax cuts to clean energy companies. And yes, it means tax cuts, but for middle-class families. The 95% of our workers that I pledged I would provide a tax cut to, and we delivered on that pledge. And instead of prolonging an addiction to oil that endangers everything from our security to our coastlines, we're now jump-starting a homegrown clean energy industry in this country. I don't want to see solar panels and wind turbines and electric cars manufactured in Europe or in Asia. I want to see them made right here in the United States of America by American workers. And that's starting to happen all across the Midwest. Because of the clean energy investments we've made, you're seeing solar plants and wind turbine plants popping up, advanced battery manufacturing right here in the Midwest. But we've also got to not only spur on clean energy, we've got to build a 21st century infrastructure. Yes, new roads, new bridges, but also faster internet access, high-speed railroads, projects that will lead to hundreds of thousands of new private sector jobs. And we're helping to get the American auto industry back on its feet and retool for the 21st century. Now, this is an industry that had lost hundreds of thousands of jobs in the year before I took office. We had to make a tough decision about whether to help them out or walk away from what could have potentially been another 1 million jobs lost. And I decided we couldn't walk away. And you'll recall that was not necessarily a popular decision. Folks in Washington are always puzzled by me doing things that don't poll well. But let's take the case of the automakers. They said couldn't be done. It was better to just walk away. Instead of providing them bailouts with no obligations in return, like it had happened in the previous administration, we said, we'll help you out, but you got to restructure because we want you to be able to compete in the 21st century. And today, all 3 U.S. automakers are operating at a profit for the first time in years. They've had the strongest job growth in more than 10 years.